Hello there, it's Qckslvrslash here, and today we have a video courtesy of Zauron driving the Tier 4 Japanese battleship, the Ishizuchi. And it looks to be a friend of Tex 141 because, well, there's Tex. And this is one of the ships I think I actually have now. I think I got it out of one of the Christmas containers and have just yet to play it. I've heard a lot of negative comments about her. Basically, to sum them all up, it's the worst Tier 4 battleship. And, you know, I kind of take or leave some of those kind of comments because a lot of it comes down to how you use it. And there's no specific reason she should be any worse. Statistically, when you look at the stats in-game, they're pretty much all the same. Sure, there's some soft stats that might adjust some of them mildly or make it a little more difficult, but to me it's a good ship. It's reasonably fast, like it's no speed demon, but you're looking at about 27 knot top speed, and Zauron's had no problem leading the charge into battle. Also worth pointing out, this is a Tier 5 game, so you know, it's not like Zauron's fighting a bunch of Tier 3s. This is the worst matchmaking this ship can get, a whole ton of Tier 5s. Now there aren't many enemy Tier 5 battleships, just that Koenig, but there's a lot of cruisers, and often cruisers are more deadly than the enemy battleships. Just because cruisers really do have that DPM and just light so many frickin' fires. Now, I am going to dock points there. Opening volley, HE. Gets a fire, but man, side on Emerald, if that had been an AP volley, that would have wrecked him. And, well, right now, you face the issue that is that hidden destroyer in the smoke. You can see the Omaha, and once again, firing HE. And I wonder if Zauron just kind of chooses to go that route because it's a Tier 4. I know a lot of people who in battleships do that, and I find it a little frustrating because I've absolutely wrecked cruisers with AP in my low tier battleships. I've driven the Arkansas Beta a whole bunch, I've got the Nikolai, and I sail around AP loaded because it wrecks ships. So I'm kind of hoping Zauron's just firing the HE because there was a destroyer so close, he was hoping to have the shot at it. But more and more it's looking like an intentional choice. So we'll see how this goes. You know, you're still going to get damage, and ultimately at this tier you're not giving up too much with it. I just feel shots like that would have been pretty much Citadels and an Omaha gone. But beyond the shell choice, Zauron's done a great job so far. He got in a little ahead of his fleet and has managed to safely kind of turn out and extricate himself from the situation. And I think one of the things I was pointing out in my Königsberg the other day when I was playing is very true of all ships, and it's stay close to your supporting fire. Right now, just because of where his friendly battleships have chosen to sail, and I think it's because that Kaiser and Koenig are terrified of destroyers, he's now all alone. Had that Kaiser and Koenig came with him, it would be a very different story. Good hit there on the Nicholas, taking about 1/4 of his health. You can never complain too much about hitting a destroyer, especially at range. But right now he's still just gotta get out of dodge. He's got this Omaha behind him who's pretty much set up to just light fires. And because the Omaha has no pressure on him from any of Zauron's teammates, he can sit there and do just that. Now, fortunately, fire damage, as always, completely repairable with the repair parties, but you have to be alive long enough to use them. And that's where I see a lot of battleships make mistakes. They pretty much wind up getting themselves killed before they manage to cycle through all those repairs, throwing away tons of potential health and just time in game by overexposing too early. Fortunately, he's got himself out of trouble. He's got a destroyer out in front of him who's thrown some torpedoes, which hopefully make it all the way to the Omaha and make him back off. And in the meantime, he can continue returning fire because that Omaha is the only thing shooting him right now. Decent hit there, just about 4,300 damage, and he gets a fire. And maybe that's the other reason Zauron chooses to use HE. He just likes the fire. Although, now that I say something, of course, AP in the barrels, and I'm hoping I'm vindicated here. I'm praying that this is just a devastating hit to that Omaha. And not really. Well, shows you what I know. The HE's been doing more damage. But he's willing to give it another go. And I'm hoping at some point it works out, though those, I think, are aimed a little far back. The Omaha looks to... I mean, he's been border riding, so he's got almost no engine power, but... decent hit, 4,700. One more like that, and he should be dead. And yeah, that's where I'd be aiming. Right in the front. I even like the little bit of strafe back, spread the shells out. You know, maximize your chance, at least longitudinally, that you hit the Citadel. And of course RNG decides, nope, you don't get to do damage, and the T-22 finishes him off. But now we're left with a couple battleships, that Emerald, and 2 unspotted destroyers. And you can see Tex there dropping some shells. Or not shells, some torpedoes at that enemy Miyogi, and well, there he goes. And one by one, this south side of the map is getting cleared off, and it's good because they need to get moving. If you look at the north, 2 battleships left up there have pretty much scared the rest of their team away. Which means if they don't start putting pressure on the enemy cap, and soon, the enemies are going to start pressuring theirs, and they're going to have to get back to base in a hurry. Now, fortunately, Zauron hasn't put himself way at the edge of the map. Too often I see ships do this, and it just takes them out of, effectively being able to react. By remaining kind of in this area of the map, you're close enough to your base that if they start capping, you'll actually make it there in time. Watching his division mate there lose some torpedo bombers, and he's got another repair up, and almost his last one. And ultimately what this means is, in total, his hit points probably would be, in the red without repair parties. So he's given himself, another half to 3/4 of a vessel worth of hit points to use. And pretty decent HE hit on that Arkansas Beta. 2 fires and a good chunk of damage, and those look to be burning. I don't know if that Arkansas Beta has been lit on fire by some of his allies, but 2 fires is going to chip away at that Arkansas's health in a hurry. And, well, incoming torpedo bombers, but he sees them, he is reacting, he's got the rudder hard over, and now it's kind of just this dance as both try to carousel one another. That enemy carrier looking to try to get on his beam, or just completely ignoring him, maybe going for a different target. It's hard to say. Well, now it's pretty easy. It looks like they dropped at the Koenig. They did indeed, because he ran himself aground, and well, that's not a good place to be as a battleship. Now, you see him fire at this T-22. Personally, I would have fired at that Nicholas, who is spotted, has been spotted, and is on almost no health, because you can take a destroyer off the map. What I'd be really worried about, especially if this Kaiser eats enough torpedoes to kill him, good thing he doesn't, though he is going to tick down. What I'm worried about now is if this Nicholas comes charging up using this big island as cover and dumps a whole bunch of torpedoes right down this chunk of open water. That's kind of, in my head, what I would be thinking. Now whether the Nicholas does that or not, and whether Zauron eats torpedoes here, I don't know. But that's just kind of those little things that I'm always thinking about. How can I get ships off the map? Because even at, 700 health, that Nicholas can do a lot of damage, and more importantly, he's worth points. The enemy team is capping, which means Zauron's team is falling behind on points. They're not getting, that normal tick. And it is a pair of enemy battleships up there, which you have to respect. And that Nicholas T-22 keep proving to be a hassle. They get another fire on him, and this one's going to stick. Hopefully he can do the same to that Arkansas beta back there, but really Zauron's got to be starting to focus on the cap. Still looking over his shoulder, dealing with that Arkansas, and I would be getting my turrets around. I would be getting ready, because 2 enemy ships in base, they've got over a quarter of the caps. You need to start damaging to take away the points they do have, to give yourself time. Another barrage of torp bombers, but once again, Zauron is on his ball, or on the ball, and starts turning. You just have to hope that he can get his rudder back, and he does just in time, because, well, here comes the drop, and if I didn't know any better, I would say that was auto-dropped. Which, granted, if Wargaming follows through with this change, is the only way you're going to be able to drop torps and bombs at this tier. So maybe that enemy CV player is just practicing for a future patch. And things, they're not looking good, but they're not looking terrible. And the big things, and why I wouldn't be freaking out too much, well, you just hit the Wyoming. They've got no cap points left, so you've got time. And time is a lot in World of Warships, because this is not a fast game. The second reason I'm not too worried is they, on his division, and still alive, is TX-141. And, well, he's a carrier at tier 4. Wyomings and Kaisers do not have, well, any anti-air to really speak of. They technically have a number, but it's not shooting anything down. Which means they're kind of sitting ducks there. And if Zauron can continue to get some fires and force them to run their damage controls, well, you're going to get floods too. And, well, dive bombers as well. So there's a lot of ways to really chip away at those 2 battleships. And you can see 3 fires going, 1 more on the bow, and that ship's just going to start disappearing. He picks up his Confederate, and as much as things were looking rough, I'd say they've really turned around. That Wyoming is almost gone, and just look at the health evaporate. And I'm guessing that's entirely why he chooses to use HE, is just to get those fires and get that additional damage. Oh, I was hoping that would be the kill shot, but no damage it looks like. And, of course, the T-22's fire is the one that gets him. But either way, it's a good thing for their team. 1 fewer ship, and it is now 3 versus 5. If that T-22 gets lost, it's, well, Zauron and TX, their division versus what is left of the enemy team. Once again, kind of fortunate thing here. It's a single battleship, low tier, not going to be able to do much. It looked like TX just recovered his bombers, so they should be back in the air shortly and ready to light some more fires. And the thing I've completely missed is he's about to cross, just did, the 90,000 damage threshold, which is, 2 times his hit point, and at tier 4, 90k is impressive. And there's still ship to get rid of on the map. And oddly enough, he hasn't managed a kill, which is kind of odd to me. There's a lot of cruisers earlier that he had chances and did manage to hit, just never managed to secure kills on anything. So hopefully this Kaiser can be his first kill. And he gets a second fire, 2700 damage, wipes out some of the AA, so just makes it easier for his division mate. And look at that. That is the freaking 4th of July there with all the fires there. 4 of them, and the health is just disappearing off that Kaiser. Though, damage control back in time. Of course. He leaves him on 151 damage, but at least now, really anything touches him, that Kaiser is going to be dead. And it's a good thing, because now it really is just TX and Zauron versus the world. Gets his arsonist, gets the kill, defends the base, and things are not looking good. I would not be happy in a situation looks like this. There's really no way you have to come back. And part of it is just that Nicholas. You know what I said, like, he's worth the points, he's on the map, and, well, Zauron's not going to be able to come back from this one. So despite a very impressive amount of damage, and he may still get some yet, because you never know what an enemy team's players are thinking when it's 4v1. Something about no cap, kill all. Well, to get the cap, they have to come through him anyways. But he might manage to pick up a little more damage. If I were the enemy team, I'd just sail away. There's no reason to really get involved, or at least that Nicholas, to have him sail away. Ooh, excuse me. And, well, you can see TX raising the great question. Does it only count as a good game if you win? Looks like Prensk is a bit of a sore loser there in chat, but you can't win every game. There is no player in World of Warships who has a 100% win rate, unless there's someone who's played like one game, but that's statistically irrelevant. You're gonna end up in losses. What matters is, are you happy with your performance? And I'd have to say Zauron should be. He was one of the only ships to really stay at the south. The couple of the battleships kind of ran to the middle of the map. They did hang around. He did try to put pressure on the base. He came back. He helped kind of save the day at cap. Make sure they didn't win by cap 5 minutes earlier. And, well, he should get another kill right here. Enemy Nicholas gets a second kill. Pads his stats a little, because this one is going to be a loss. There's no way they're winning it. Potentially, if TX were still alive, I'd say they have a chance, just because carriers can find things anywhere on the map pretty quickly. But with the game pretty much wrapped up, a minute left, I'm just going to save us a tiny bit of time and jump to the post-battle. Oh, never mind. Suddenly a wild T-22 appears, and the game's going to get a little more interesting, because can Zauron get one more kill? T-22, he's turning hard. He's putting torps in the water, and that's all he's trying to do. But why isn't he using his guns? Zauron only has 2,000 hit points. He could have done that in 2 volleys. Instead, a big turn to launch some torpedoes, which surely are coming this way, but he threw himself away. And certainly a tough game to lose. 347,000 credits, 2,200 experience. He got Confederate, high caliber, arsonist, 112,000 damage at tier 4 is very respectable, and wound up with 3 kills. The Nicholas charging in like that, I don't know what he expected to happen. He's gonna get killed if anything hits him. And then that T-22, Zauron was on 2,000 hit points. The T-22 just had to shoot. Instead, he turned his ship broadside and wasted a whole bunch of time putting torpedoes in the water that, yeah, ultimately got the kill, but he threw his ship away in the process. And those are little decision-making things that really do affect a game. Too often, I think destroyers get wrapped up in their torpedoes and don't think about their guns. And, well, he's top of the team, 1137, on a loss, very respectable. And if you look at the enemy team, it really puts into perspective. Yeah, it's not the 3000 XP you see sometimes, but only one person on the enemy team had more. And it's no surprise, good damage to a lot of ships across the board. That's how you get it. And ultimately, as a tier 4 battleship in a tier 5 game, you're not really expected to carry a game like he just did. 307,000 credits he's taken home, 2,200 experience, and just a well-played game. Wish he got the win because he'd be taking a lot more home, but either way, looks like they're having fun. And that's what you're supposed to do when you play this game, and you're not going to win them all. And I guess a little too often, all the videos that wind up on YouTube seem to be wins. And maybe I'll try to change that a bit, but I have what I have. Anyways, thank you for sending this in, Zauron. Anyone else wants to send them in, Qckslvrslash@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this, please consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing to the channel. And as always, I'm Qckslvrslash, and I'll have another one for you guys later.